From the time Orlando Bloom beat up Justin Bieber to when Chris Brown jumped Usher, this video is all about the controversial reasons why actors punch other celebs. Starting with what The Guardian calls history's most pathetic celebrity scuffle. The perps here? Justin Bieber and Orlando Bloom. I know. Two of the last people you'd ever imagine getting into it with each other. But it happened. It was actually a long time coming. Fueled by cheating rumors, major disrespect, and some light backstabbing, Bloom was probably waiting for Bieber to slip up so that he'd swoop in for the kill. The incident itself happened in 2014, but it'd been brewing since 2012. Now, if you're a fan of the Canadian singer, you'd remember that in the early mid-2010s, Justin was known as a problem child. He got into fights, was arrested, and altogether it was a nuisance. So back in 2012, Bieber was seen cozying up with Bloom's then-wife, Miranda Kerr. He even made a pass at her after the Victoria's Secret show. Kerr shut it down immediately, but it left a bad taste in Bloom's mouth. Bieber heard from the grapevine that he'd gotten under Bloom's skin and decided to provoke him in Ibiza. According to Anastasia Skolkovo, Bloom, Leonardo DiCaprio, Paris Hilton, P. Diddy, and a host of other celebrities were partying away at Capriani restaurant in Ibiza when Bieber showed up with his entourage and approached Bloom by saying, "What's up?" The actor pushed aside his sofa and jumped up at Bieber, getting a few punches in prior to security separating them. Was the singer looking for a fight? You bet he was, because not only was he not invited that night, but he also posted a picture of Kerr from the runway and one of Bloom crying, the day after the fistfight on Instagram. This came with a nasty caption targeting their divorce too. To no one's surprise, everyone sided with Bloom. Actually, Skolkovo said that when the actor threw a few punches at Bieber, everyone in the restaurant started cheering. Yep, Bieber's problematic era really was something else. Glad it finally came to an end though, and he got his act together. The same can't be said about Shia LaBeouf. I'm honestly still waiting for his problematic era to come to an end. Guess I'll wait a little while longer then, because this alleged fight with Tom Hardy is still pretty fresh. John Hillcoat, the director of Lawless, told Redditors in an AMA session that the two hated each other, and on one occasion, LaBeouf knocked out Hardy. The Honey Boy actor, though, says that's not true. I mean, he admits that it did happen, but not the way everyone thinks it did. Two versions. I'll start with Hillcoat. One day, after a pretty tense argument, the actors got into a fight that ended up with Hardy counting stars. Now, here's Shia's side of things. He and Hardy were anything but enemies on set. They got along great, and were always play fighting, not actually fighting. One day, Hardy has him over his shoulder and trips and falls down the stairs, knocking him out cold. But everyone pretty much stuck with the whole LaBeouf took down Hardy's narrative. This was amusing to the Transformers actor, actually, because Hardy was training for his role as Christian Bale in Batman, and the actor was huge. But could play fighting really go that far? In Bryan Cranston's and John Leguizamo's cases, yes, it can. You might be inclined to believe LaBeouf's side of things if you listen to all that happened while filming The Infiltrator. Now, the director probably wished that the movie would be memorable, but his wish was lost in translation. Because while the movie is indeed a memorable one, it's not for the plot, but for the many altercations that happened while filming. Like the time Juan Celli and Leguizamo got into a fight with one another, while they were shooting a scene where their characters were fighting. According to John, there's a line between stage fighting and real-life punching, but the line can get blurry at times when you're really into the scene. The two actors reportedly got so indulged in the scene that they started fighting for real. Luckily, the crew stepped in just in time to separate them, and they shook it off. Just like that, Bryan Cranston got into a fight on set too. Now, the Breaking Bad star talked about how tense things were on set, probably because everyone had really big personalities. Or, I guess, You could say they had big heads. One fine day, Cranston walked into the set in a mood and reportedly got into a physical altercation with another actor, just because. Cranston has since apologized for the incident and says that he and the other guy made peace with one another. Moving on to the 2 times Kiefer Sutherland has thrown hands at celebrities. The first was when he got into the weirdest fight of his life with Shane McGowan. Imagine this. The two meet for the first time in their lives, make the cardinal mistake of talking about politics, get into it with one another over the history of Scotland, throw in a few punches, and the rest of the group separates you. And then, share a hotel room. Wait, what? What's amusing here is that I'm really not skipping over any major details here. That's exactly how it happened. On an episode of Late Late back in 2019, Sutherland told Ryan Tuberty that the Irish singer came up to him 3 hours after they just threatened to beat each other black and blue and said that he needed a place to stay that night. When the 24 actor reminded him that they'd just gotten into a fight, McGowan said, "Yeah, so? That was 3 hours ago." Wow. The Irish singer ended up crashing on his hotel room couch that night, left bright and early the next morning, leaving Sutherland the sweetest note that the actor actually still stays with him to this day. Sutherland, though, didn't strike oil twice in the whole celeb altercations department because he was actually arrested for assaulting Jack McCullough. The 24 actor apparently got really annoyed with the fashion designer after he kept trying to butt into a conversation he was having with Brooke Shields at a Manhattan club. Reports suggest that Sutherland might have been a little drunk that night, and McCullough might have been a little annoying too. But anyway, it shouldn't have escalated into violence. Not just because, sticks and stones, but also because Sutherland was already on probation for a DUI. McCullough filed a police report right after the fight, which left him requiring stitches, and the actor was arrested and charged with misdemeanor assault. Then, the fashion designer actually dropped the charges after Sutherland issued a public apology and took responsibility for what he'd done that night. All's well that ends well, right? Well, speaking of ending, Tony Bellew's acting career is pretty much over. The former professional boxer decided to hang up his gloves and picked up a script for Creed back in 2016. He was set to play the film's main villain, Ricky Conlon, and everything was going well, until one fateful day when Sylvester Stallone had to step in before police were called on set, and protection was assigned to a fellow actor whom Bellew had threatened to beat to a pulp. You've probably heard people talk big in the heat of the moment, right? Well, Bellew could actually beat someone black and blue. What happened between him and the actor who played a ringer coach in Creed, no one knows for sure. Some say he disrespected Bellew. Some say it was the other way around. Whatever the case may be, everyone was pretty much on edge until filming wrapped up. But luckily, tensions on set didn't impact anyone's performance in the film. Bellew was called back for Creed 3, where he apparently knocked out Michael B. Jordan while they were filming a scene. So it's unclear whether the guy would be called back for more projects. Hey, with great power comes great responsibility. But this next guy knows nothing about it. I'm talking about an incident from 2023. The time Chris Brown gave Usher a bloodied nose. It all happened at Brown's birthday dinner on May 7th. Usher was in attendance, and so was Teyana Taylor. So the Look at Me Now singer was apparently mad at Taylor over his scrapped Michael Jackson tribute at the American Music Awards, which happened 6 months ago. And honestly, no one knows why he blamed Taylor for it. But let's just roll with it. So he's trying to talk to Taylor, or talk at her at least, and she's ignoring him. This angers Brown, at which point the international love singer comes in to intervene. Brown then takes it up with Usher, and the two start arguing. He leaves with his guys, and Usher follows him. Now, the two rappers and their co went behind some buses parked outside, and no one really knows what happened back there, but when Usher emerged, he had a bloodied nose. It's safe to say the two won't be collaborating anytime soon. So, From the time Chris Brown jumped Usher to when Orlando Bloom beat up Justin Bieber, these were the controversial reasons why celebs got into fistfights.